Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Fourmation Podcast. This is our fourth episode back in sort of series 2, but it's our 20th episode of all time. So maybe a little bit of a landmark. We're going to call it one anyway. Another week in lockdown has passed, which means another week in the football world has passed, and a lot of interesting stuff has gone on, a lot linked to what we discussed last week, actually. But before we get on to that, we will just introduce ourselves if there is anyone watching who maybe hasn't watched before. I'm George Wilson, and I'm joined by Devon Cash. Devon, how are you doing?
All right now. There's actually stuff happening around the area and in terms of football clubs and mine. So it's heating up and I'm keeping busy. So rest of you lads, how are you doing?
I think, yeah, good stuff. I think we're pretty good. That was a unique introduction. I didn't really know what to say. You left me speechless for a second there. Harry, how are you doing? Harry Tizard.
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. I mean, it's less than 24 hours since Saints lost another game in the league, so it's slowly going downhill, but we're still in the cup, so I'm happy about that. Smiles in the South Coast at the moment.
The FA Cup is your saving grace at the moment. And Sam Allen, how pleased are you that we've made it to this 20 episode mark?
Very pleased. I think there was one point where it didn't look like we would when we took our rather long break, but we're here now, so it's good to be at number 20.
Yeah, I can agree more. It is
waiting, Sam. Just keep them waiting. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we are enjoying putting these together again, and we hope that we can carry on for as long as we can. On with the episode then. As I said, a lot has gone on in the past week, so we may as well get straight on with it. It should be mainly a more positive episode than last week. It was a bit of doom and gloom, but now it's about giving people some praise, I'm going to say. But before that, last week, something we discussed in a fair amount of depth was Chelsea's real drop-off in form. We spoke about Frank Lampard's future, and I think I said at the end of the episode, it'll be interesting to see whether he's still in the job when we come back. Well, guess what? If you haven't seen it, he is no longer Chelsea's manager. He was given his marching orders by Roman Abramovich on Monday morning. So straight in then, Devon, what was your immediate reaction to the announcement he was gone?
I think ethically probably not right in my opinion, but was it needed? Probably definitely. If Chelsea were to continue and make any sort of success of this season with the way the projector is looking, the only differing factor is when you actually look into the stats when they were top last month and how the Premier Leagues are shaping up this year to be highly competitive, you'd like to have thought that Roman would have give Lampard a little bit of leeway with being a club legend, and we genuinely thought, I remember last year when we were talking about Chelsea, that they were going in a different direction, but evidently not. Success is what's on Roman's mind. You know what you were getting with Lampard. You're getting passion, and he's fighting everything for the cause. But again, he's a young manager that were still learning his trade, and I think his naivety showed. I think also it's lucky that fans are not there at the minute, because I don't think Abramovich would be welcome anywhere near Fulham Broadway for the foreseeable anyway.
Sam, would you agree with Devon's assessment?
Probably, yeah. I think it was definitely unfair, but the way, like you said, the way the season has moved so quickly. At one point they were 14 unbeaten, top of the league, and now not so great at the moment. And it was definitely unfair. But like Devon said, Lampard probably came into the Chelsea job too inexperienced, only having one season at Derby, which didn't go the way that he planned. So I don't necessarily feel bad for him. I think this could turn out to be a good thing for Lampard, because there'll definitely be a lot of jobs waiting for him, and he can sort of ply his trade at different clubs, and maybe even potentially come back to the Chelsea job at some point. Like Abramovich said in his statement, his views on Lampard haven't changed despite the sacking, but it's definitely disappointing. But probably unfair, but probably right at the same time.
Harry, do you have any sympathy for him, or do you think that given Chelsea's previous record of quickly getting rid if something goes wrong, do you think he should have anticipated this and maybe started to make things better quicker?
Oh yeah, I do feel sorry for him. You look at when managers do get given time, a lot of the time they do succeed. I don't want to always bring it back to Southampton because that's always what I seem to do. But after that result, I'm not going to mention it, but that result, we gave Ralph time. And look at us now, we're level on points with Chelsea. And it takes time to bed players in. You know, he did so well last season against all odds. Really got them top four when people like me, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but a lot of people said they might not even get top six. So with the money he spent, you've got to give a manager who spent that much money that much time. But then on the other flip of the coin, he was the one choosing to play these players rather than let them settle into the country. And it does seem like a lot of the players, according to the Athletic, weren't that happy with the lack of progression and the training and not getting enough tactical training as well. So I can see both sides of the coin, but if I was them, only 5 points off of Liverpool at the moment. I know Liverpool aren't having the best season, but it's still Liverpool. I'd probably give them a bit more time.
It's just the Chelsea model, isn't it? This is how they've operated since Abramovich has come in. And he's got the lowest points per game average of any Chelsea manager in the Premier League. So with all the money that he spent, over £200 million in the summer, not got anything really out of those players that he's brought in. The pressure was certainly ramped up on him at the start of the season compared to last, where he did a decent job, but like I said, there wasn't much pressure on him. So this is definitely it was going to be a big season for him, and he's not quite reached expectations in Abramovich's eyes anyway.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that the club's statement announcing that he was gone was released less than 24 hours after Chelsea beat Luton in the FA Cup, which I personally thought was fairly strange timing. Devon, do you think he was maybe made aware before that game you're going to be gone? Because I saw some suggestions on Twitter. He gave Mason Mount the armband, who he's been with for since he was at Derby, and he's been a mainstay in his team. So do you think that was kind of his way of, I don't know, doing his last game?
Possibly. I mean, like Sam alluded to, the Athletic article that came out, it was believed that. Pardon?
That was Harry, I think.
That's definitely what I said, Harry. Must have been a connection problem. No, sorry, Harry. Should we just rewind that quickly? What Harry alluded to with the Athletic article is, I think they said something about after the Leicester game, Lampard knew his fate, and yeah, maybe that is his last stance by getting Mason Mount, the person that's been instrumental to his success. Not success, but he definitely drove a lot of that attacking play at Derby and at Chelsea, and he's shown so much faith. And I think ultimately that's probably also where the thorn in his side's been, because he gave so much that trust to the young players last year with the transfer embargo, and even in January he could have gone and spent, but he's trusted the side and they ultimately paid off. But this season, you've seen with whether the Lampard signings or any directors have brought him in, it seems to have been like a clash of opinion more than Lampard, because I think we've seen, like Harry said as well, it should have let them bed themselves into London, get used to the city first, and then slowly drip feed them in rather than chucking them into firing line straight away.
Before we quickly discuss who is coming in to replace Lampard, I think Sam touched on it. What do you think he's likely to do now? Do you think he'll do a Gary Neville and go back into punditry, never manage again? Or do you think he will be eager to prove himself? Sam, what do you think?
No, definitely the second one. I think this will have definitely lit a fire under his belly. Like I said, he would have been disappointed because obviously Chelsea's the dream job for him, and he was in all honesty, he was not experienced enough to take the job when he did. But if it was offered to him, so he had to take it. So I think if he'll want to gain more experience, maybe go back to the Championship or somewhere else. And like I said, the door could open for him again at Chelsea. Who knows? He's got a long managerial career ahead of him still, I think.
Yeah. So the man who has come in to replace him, who, if you're in the loop with your football news, you will have seen this, of course, but it is Thomas Tuchel. That's the pronunciation I'm going for. I'm sure when he takes his first interview, that will be confirmed by him. But Thomas Tuchel, he is German. He's aged 47, and he only recently, I think a month ago, he was sacked by PSG. So he's managed there before, and Borussia Dortmund in Germany. He took PSG to the Champions League final just last summer and also won 2 French league titles with them. So, Devon, do you think this is the right appointment? What are your thoughts on it?
I think the appointment's probably coupled with the summer transfer window, because I think them kind of signings were suited rather to a manager of Tuchel's stature. I mean, we've got 2 players from the Bundesliga that have underperformed, and we've got Thiago Silva, who we obviously managed under last year. So it's kind of set in for him already, and I think with the still a couple of days remaining of the transfer window, maybe they might let him dip in quickly and get a couple of signings to bolster it. But I think it's a smart move. I think there might have been a case for Allegri, but I still think that Tuchel's probably the best suited for the players that he's got. Obviously, at PSG, everyone's expecting him to win the French league titles, but he took them to their best Champions League finish, I think. Anyway, unless I don't think they've won it, have they?
No.
Yeah, my mind just went like that. And he also, when he were at Dortmund in a similar competitive league, he maintained a 62% win rate. So he's shown that because obviously the Bundesliga has a lot of good teams, and it's quite tight, a bit like the Premier League. I think overall this is a good appointment for Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't personally know a great deal about Tuchel, but when I look at his CV, and I maybe have a few doubts about it, to be honest. This is maybe not great of me to say, given I don't really watch any French football other than in the Champions League. But as you alluded to, Devon, when you're at PSG, you should be winning Liga, and he didn't win it with Dortmund. I know he was only there for 2 years. But do you think maybe Chelsea's fans might also be thinking this and maybe have a few doubts? Or do you think the fact that he took them to the Champions League final next year and was appearing to get them closer and closer to that European success, do you think that will encourage them? What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I think they should be encouraged by that. I think you talk about not knowing too much. I'm probably in the same boat, but I'm having a look here, and he did have the highest win percentage as a manager at PSG, about 76%. So, he's done a phenomenal job there. I know, like Devon said, also the phenomenal Champions League finish as well. So they've got plenty to be encouraged by. Whether the appointment was to do with the German players and Thiago Silva, I think that is more of a coincidence, but it certainly helps. It certainly helps. And they're still competitive, This season is very, very close, so they can still get the top 4. They're only a matter of points away. They're still in the Champions League as well. They're still in the FA Cup. There's plenty of things that Tuchel can do. It's not like season over. Let's just see what happens this year and then let's go again next year. There's plenty of things to do. And with the transfer window still open, I don't know how much money they've got to play with, but he's got time if he wants to. He's got about a week to sort of try and mould that squad, try and get the tactics down, and then see what happens.
Sam, do you think it's perhaps a good thing that Tuchel have a little bit of time to bed himself in without the fans there? Because as Devon mentioned, they could have easily, if they were in the stadium, could have made a lot of noise about their disregard for the Lampard thing, whereas now he's going to have some time to get them on his side if he can kickstart them with a few good results.
Yeah, I think it definitely would have been a distraction with the fans voicing their opinions if they were there. But one of the interesting things with Tuchel is a lot's been written about him, saying he's a bit of a control freak, and at all of his clubs' minds, Dortmund, PSG, he's clashed with those higher up. So it'll be interesting to see how the Chelsea players and also the Chelsea board, those at the top of the club, will react to his sort of style of management, especially Abramovich with his gun-ho style when it comes to sacking and appointing managers. So it'll be interesting to see, and I think he's won things, but he still comes with a lot to prove. A lot of people, when he was at PSG, said he didn't get enough out of the star-studded squad, even though he reached the Champions League final. And obviously, he wasn't able to not buy off their perch. He did win the German Cup with Dortmund, but he was never able to capture that league title. So he comes, like Lampard, he comes with a lot to prove still.
I think does it not mirror a little bit like Jose Mourinho, somebody quite opinionated, but also it mirrors the kind of progression that Jurgen Klopp had. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp's a lot more likeable, but Mainz, Dortmund, and then obviously PSG, which Liverpool Klopp fast tracked straight to Liverpool after his Dortmund stint. So obviously incomparable because the success that Klopp brought to Dortmund is probably a bit better. But obviously the course of the running, Tuchel had a better percentage, I think. So
yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
I think he will be good for those young German players that have been brought in on a low on confidence. Obviously, he's worked with Thiago Silva and Pulisic as well before, so I think the Chelsea players will react well to him, and that's probably the most important thing at this time. Like I say, with no fans.
I mean, I forgot about Pulisic, and I think his best years at Dortmund were through Tuchel, weren't they? It were only when Tuchel left when he started. I think when he moved to Chelsea and Jadon Sancho started to emerge.
Well, he's still very young, Pulisic. So.
Oh yeah, of course. But I think we saw last year, and especially after the restart, how good Pulisic can be, and I think he's probably more important in that front line at the minute, and probably boasts a lot more quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Tuchel portrays himself, and I think a lot of journalists are excited, especially when a manager leaves a big club, to see what the impact is when a new man comes in. So that will be an interesting one to follow over the coming months. But we're going to move on now to talk about West Ham United. So if you're a West Ham fan watching, you'll probably enjoy this next 5 or 10 minute segment. Because we're going to talk about how good you've been of late. And you have to say the Hammers looked at serious risk of being relegated last year. But David Moyes managed to get them out of it. And you'd have to say he's now transformed them into European contenders, I'm going to say. I think you can't really say otherwise. They beat Crystal Palace last night, which is Tuesday. They sit in 4th position at the moment, so in the top 4, which is their highest ever league position under David Moyes. They've won their last 6 in all competitions. Last defeat came in on December the 21st, so over a month ago. There's been a lot of games since then. So, Harry, how surprised are you by their turnaround? Did you see it coming?
To be honest, I didn't. I think a lot of West Ham fans were not optimistic at the start of this season, especially after letting Grady Diangana go to what they thought was going to be a relegation rival. One of their most exciting young prospects who had a great championship season last year. That looked like the last penny had dropped there, and they thought, oh no, what's going to happen here? But the players are buying into David Moyes' system. Maybe a year and a half ago, 18 months ago, that wasn't quite the case. But players like Souček, I mean, fancy football lovers have definitely profited off of him, but so have West Ham. He's the difference maker in so many games, just due to the fact that he's a threat. He's a threat, even though he plays in the centre of midfield. And they've got some, I wouldn't call them bad eggs out, but Arnautovic went out a year ago. Haller's gone. Felipe Anderson, who was on the edge or on the brink, has sort of been loaned out. I'm not sure if he's came back from Porto because he's not getting a lot of minutes there. But they're buying into a system. They've given David Moyes a bit more time than they did in his last stint. And they're reaping the rewards. 35 points out of 20 games, 6 points off of Manchester City, having played a game more, 5 points in front of Arsenal, playing the same amount of games. It's all going well at West Ham at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the Diangana transfer out, Harry, because I wanted to mention that as well, because I can remember I think it was September, so almost before the season had started, and I think it was Spencer Owen, Spencer FC on YouTube, released a video with his brother because he did a load of those kind of podcast style. And I think it was titled "What is Going On at West Ham?" And they just ranted for half an hour. They're not the sort to they're not like Arsenal Fan TV who will scream and shout. They were just having a discussion about how wrong it had been, because there was a whole thing with Mark Noble's tweet and everything else. There seemed to be a lot of division among their ranks. So to go from that to what they are now, how impressed are you, Sam, by what Moyes has done and has been able to unite them and create a really strong team?
Very impressed. I mean, he would have thought it David Moyes' West Ham in the Champions League spots. When he took them over, they were 17th and just 1 point above relegation. But he's really turned things around. And Souček, who's already been mentioned, for just £19 million. That's been an excellent bit of business. I think he's got 10 goals now from midfield. And we're only halfway through the season, so more to come from him, I'm sure. And Mikel Antonio as well has been a revelation since football's come back. I mean, he probably should have had a hat-trick against Crystal Palace, didn't get one against them. But yeah, it's hard to say what exactly he's done, but he's sort of galvanised his team, and they look like a cohesive unit. And they've got in Antonio and Souček people who can grab the goals for them. I mean, they haven't had a striker they can rely on for a very long time. I think that's well known that West Ham have struggled to sort of find a striker who can score for them consistently, but they have that now in Antonio. So they're going very well, that's for sure.
Well, you're right, Sam. And Antonio is someone I've got written down here, someone I wanted to discuss, as is Souček. Because, like you say, with the Antonio situation, West Ham sold Sebastian Haller in January, a couple of weeks ago. You know, I think they took a loss on him. So they've put a lot of trust in Antonio, and he has delivered. He scored winning goals against Burnley and West Brom, their two most recent home games. Devon, given that he was a favourite player of yours at Wednesday, as he was for Harry at Southampton. You know, you've all had pretty good experiences with him in the past. How pleased are you to see that he's, you know, a leading man in a flourishing Premier League team?
Yeah, I think growing up as a Wednesday fan, we never had any of these kind of players that went on to do well. Like, I think Chris Brunt and Glenn Whelan have been the only two that have gone and stepped on and done brilliantly. But yeah, Antonio, I think he's always had that quality in him. He's always been able to. He's playing like he did now than he did when he were at Wednesday, when he were at Forest before he got the move to the Premier League. And I think, well, assuming Harry, with how much we've reminisced over him, he did the exact same for Southampton. Sometimes he just takes the responsibility on his shoulders and forces something to happen. And I think it's these kind of players. You look like, Declan Rice, Cresswell, Bowen, Souček, as we already mentioned. These are kind of the players that are the West Ham way kind of players. I think in the past, they've tried to get these flashy managers in to change the style of West Ham, but it's not worked. Moyes kind of picked up the form when he first took over. Pellegrini came in and it dipped again. But Moyes now is kind of like watching his Everton side, but with a little bit of creativity. And it's just strange how it, like Sam said, that he's galvanised the side, but whatever he's doing or whatever he's feeding them pre-match is working. So,
yeah, Craig Dawson. I mean, what a player he's been for them. I mean, I think he's got like 3 clean sheets in the 5 games that he's started. So that's a big surprise to see someone like that fitting into that team and doing so well in the team that's flying high at the moment.
Well, you're right. You're right to mention Dawson as well, Sam, because Souček is normally the man who you go for when you think about set pieces, but Dawson proved it at Watford, and now he's doing the same at West Ham. Devon, did you have something else to add there? Did I cut in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you look at some of West Ham's past legends like Julian Diggs, Dean Ashton, players, they were only really, from memory, you look at Dimitri Payet that had a bit of flash, it's these kind of West Ham players that are for the club. Mark Noble's probably the biggest definition of the West Ham player, because it's just similar players, just all fighting for one cause, and you can all see they've bought in. Anyone that hasn't bought in's been shifted off, like we've mentioned, and it's probably why everyone's working in like a cohesive manner and just getting in there, getting the job done, pretty much like hard graft all the time.
Yeah, you have to give credit to Moyes. I mean, he's been written off for a while now, since his failure at United, then Sociedad, then getting relegated with Sunderland as well. He's been an underestimated manager for a long time. Someone's been written off for a long time. He's come back to this West Ham side and made them into a force. So all credit to him.
Yeah. One final question on West Ham then, Harry. Do you think they can sustain it? Do you think come the end of the season they can still be among those European spots?
Why not? They've got a manager who's different to the other quote unquote Brexit managers. He's not afraid to play attacking football with flair players. They've got squad depth, which is a massive thing this season due to the compact schedule, and they're on fire. They've got Liverpool up next. If there's any time they're going to beat Liverpool, it's going to be this week when they play, because they're both on very contrasting form. So I can't see why they can't. If there's any season that West Ham will get into the top four, if not the top seven, because that'll almost guarantee them European football in some way, there's no reason they can't get it. For the only way I can't see them really challenging is if Antonio gets injured, because I can't think of a striker, well, really, another striker that's in their squad, but B, one that is as dangerous, as complete as Antonio. So the only reason they wouldn't challenge is if they get a major injury in their forward line.
Well, yeah, I think that should be interesting coming into kind of the last week of the transfer window. I think West Ham have been linked with a few strikers to bring in after selling Haller, but with the form Antonio's in, it's hard to bring someone in to then say, well, you're probably going to be, playing second fiddle. So I think they've maybe got a bit of an issue with that, but I'm sure they will bring somebody in, because if not, like you say, should he get injured, they could have a problem. But there we go, West Ham fans. As you can see, we are very impressed. And to be honest, I'm in a way pleased for them, because they've had so many miserable years at that stadium. They've finally got a bit of joy. It's just a shame they can't be there. Anyway, I've rambled on for too long about that. Moving on to the Championship, which we haven't mentioned for a couple of weeks, but we thought we had to this week. And we just want to kind of share our thoughts on the promotion race. We're beyond the halfway mark now. And as always, in the Championship, there are numerous teams who will fancy their chances of pushing for promotion and a spot in the Premier League. At the time of recording, I kind of just want to read out the way the table sits for anyone who might not know.
Here we go.
Let's conveniently start there.
Let's just move my head so you can just see the Carrow Road flag.
No, I just think it needs to be done for anyone who might not know. So, as I said, at the time of recording, when this goes up, there already would have been games that would have been played. But at the time of recording, at the top of the league sit Norwich on 53 points. Second are Watford with 47. Then Swansea with 46. Brentford with 44, Reading 44, Bournemouth 42, Middlesbrough 39, Bristol City 39. That is just the top 8 teams. And it should be said as well that several of those have games in hand. So, for example, Watford, who sit in second, have played 26, while Brentford, who are only 3 points behind them, have played 23. That's due to COVID. There's been a mess with fixtures recently, and I'm quite pleased in a way that Norwich haven't really had a lot of disruption in terms of games. So you've heard how it sits at the moment. I mean, that's quite a lot to take in, obviously. But I'm going to go to Devon first. Devon, who are you tipping to be right up there at the end of the season as things stand, and why?
Well, I think this is probably the next 5 minutes as George is going to be in heaven as we all congratulate him and Norwich on winning. I think
nice.
I can't see Norwich being knocked off the perch at the top because they just look the most complete team, and they get the job done. They'll win 1-0. They'll get it done. They've got, I mean, who scored's got him as the best performing Championship player? Emi Buendia. If Norwich keep hold of him or any other key players, then I think we could just see them going back up to the Premier League and annoying Fletch. I think the biggest talking point is that second spot, just because of how like we've seen all season, just teams moving up and down. And I think the team in there that excites me is this Swansea City side, because it's just so dynamic, fast paced. Jamal Lowe's hit form at the right time, and he's finally bedded himself in. But other than that, I mean, you can't. If we're talking about goals as well, there's Ivan Toney as well. That's it performing. I think one outside shout for the playoff situation could be Blackburn Rovers once Bradley Dyke properly gets back up and running and performing 90 minutes and back to where what we've seen for the last 2 years in a Blackburn shirt. But I mean, the highest scorers with 40 goals, and Adam Armstrong's been fantastic again, 16 goals, but takes nearly 5 shots per 90, which is, you know, higher than anyone else in the Championship by a mile as well.
I've got a question for you, George, about your team. What do you think? What do you think has changed from the start of the season, where it looked like you were sort of wobbling a little bit, to now, where you look like, well, nailed on for promotion pretty much?
It's a good question. I think the international break was probably important, because I think Farke probably had a bit of a reality check. We lost to Derby at home after being all over them, and then we conceded late on. And I think Ben Gibson started his first game against Derby, and he's been a massive signing. I think we started the season with Zimmerman and Ben Godfrey before Godfrey went to Everton, and Godfrey, as much as I thought he was brilliant for us, I think defensively he isn't as solid as Gibson is. I'm sure he'll go and prove me wrong at Everton, because he's been doing really well there. But the signing of Gibson has been really big. And I just think it's a lot about momentum in the Championship as well. If you're going to be in those top few positions, you've just got to go on, 5 or 6 really long runs throughout the season. And we've only lost 2 games since that Derby defeat. So I think that's been pretty vital. And obviously having a player like Emi Buendia helps, as Devon mentioned.
George, how have Norwich survived all these? Because obviously the injury list seems to always be quite bolstered. So how have Norwich rode the kind of medical bed?
Well, I think we started with a pretty big squad for the season, because I actually think Stuart Webber, the sporting director, I think he thought more players would leave. I think he thought maybe someone would come in for big money for Aarons, probably for Buendia. There was a lot of links with Campwell too, and we only lost 2 of our, Norwich fans call them the crown jewels, which was Lewis and Godfrey. So I think they got in a load of players in the summer, thinking that they would be coming in to replace those players. In the end, they didn't go. So on the sidelines, we've had a lot of other options. The injuries have been problematic. We had a spell when we didn't have a fit natural striker, which was a struggle, but thankfully that was only 2 or 3 games, so we got through it without too much damage. But I'd say that's the main reason, is the size of the squad that we've got. Harry, is there anyone, kind of in that top 6 who you fancy to go for it? I know Bournemouth may be a team you know a fair bit about, being from Southampton. Do you think they can recover from their recent poor run and start to push for those automatic spots again?
Yeah, so they've hit a bit of a rough patch, like you said. They've gone through in the FA Cup, so hopefully from their perspective, that will help them bounce back a bit. They've got Jack Wilshere through the door, so hopefully from their point of view, he's a Premier League level midfielder, and if they can keep him fit, they'll do perfectly fine. Looking at them, look, they're only 5 points behind Watford, and Watford have played a game more. So if Bournemouth win, that's only 2 points. It's just it's really, really cramped. They just need to, as long as they. Is more of a second choice at the moment. But if they keep Josh King away from probably a team like West Ham, who need a second striker and only cost probably 10 million because his contract's up at the end of the season, just keeping those core players like Davy Brooks, for example. I know it's more likely they go in the summer, but it's just about keeping that core squad. Like Devon said, I fancy Swansea. Only 4 of their last 12 games have they not scored 2 goals, so they're a dangerous team. You've also got to always respect Brentford as well. They're always up there. Phenomenal recruitment, and once again, Ivan Toney's firing them probably into automatic promotion contention.
Sam, I know you're a big fan of Ivan Toney too, aren't you? So, do you have a bit of a soft spot for Brentford? Would you say?
Well, not so much a soft spot, but I do definitely respect Ivan Toney as a player, and hats off to Brentford with their recruitment style when it comes to attacking players, because they've done it time and time again, where they've been able to find not necessarily the diamond in the rough, but they've been able to pick out someone from the lower leagues, like they did with Ollie Watkins from Exeter as well. They found Toney; he was brilliant for Peterborough as well, and he's joint top scorer in the league. So yeah, and they've got players like Mbuemo as well, and De Silva who are great players to them as well. So and they've got the fire under their belly as well from last season, missing out. So I think they're definitely going to be up there. That's for sure.
They have I'd like to see the money ball as well in the Premier League. How it differs from when Brentford, obviously in League One, coming up into the Championship, and then establishing themselves as a genuine Championship contender, and then how it affects in the Premier League and how it might change, especially with the influx of money that they're going to get. Is it going to get invested into other areas, or will we still see the likes of Jensen in midfield or Dalsgaard running down? Obviously, Dalsgaard's getting on a bit, but it just depends how they.
I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot more difficult to find when you're in the Premier League. That is, I think it's a lot more difficult to find those sort of diamond in the roughs, because every team has got a million scouts in every country. You look at Southampton; they bought Sadio Mane for 10 million at Salzburg. You're not getting any player out of Salzburg and Austria now for 10 million. You get 30 million at the absolute minimum. So their scouts are going to have to be absolutely on point, or their coaching, and that's been very, very good as well, because it's all well and good buying these players from all over the place, but you've got to get them used to the English league, which is the most physical, intense, schedule-packed league in the world. But also, it's just a new league overall, and it's been able to coach them. And I think they've done that in the Championship, so there's no reason if they do go up, they can't do that in the Premier League as well.
I've seen their performances in the League Cup as well. I mean, they absolutely dominated Newcastle, who were poor, but they went to Spurs as well and almost got a result there as well. So I think they've shown that they can kick it with the big boys in the Premier League already without improvements. So
yeah, they beat some very good teams in the League Cup, so fair play to them.
I think one team we've not mentioned yet, who probably playing blue and white. No, it's not Sheffield Wednesday. Neil Thompson will get us. No, I'm joking.
We'll leave them to you, Devon, so you can then shout again.
Well, yes. Well, I mean, we'll probably be talking about Wednesday next week once we've lost to Coventry tonight and Preston on Saturday. No, I think Reading have kind of been the outside shout, because obviously they steamrolled to the top from the start of the season. I think they won the first 6 games. Cheers, laptop. And obviously Lucas Shaw. I feel sorry for Reading, because obviously all the Wolves scouts must have just missed our last episode where we bigged him up and they got William Jose in, which was a terrible decision, obviously. But Lucas Shaw's got 14 goals. I think he's got around about 4 or 5 assists as well. So it's been his overall game this year. And as well, Michael Elise has 8 assists, and it's just they've kind of got quality all around. It's just I think they've gone a little bit under the radar after they fell off a little bit, and now they've just slowly just been petering on and kind of not being talked about as much as they were from the start of the season. Obviously, winning the first 6 games is big, but now they've settled and slowly just sat in the playoffs, just like Derby have done for the last few years before 3-4.
Yeah, Lucas João maybe needs to work on his penalties before he maybe gets to Wolves.
George, don't make me walk out like I did last time.
Low blow.
Based on his miss at the weekend. Before we move on, Devon mentioned earlier on a team who aren't in that initial top 8, but there always seems to be some teams who rise from nowhere and push for the playoffs. I just want to put this on record today so we can come back at the end of the season when I'm right. I think that team this year is going to be Barnsley. Norwich have had 2 games against them in the last month, and they have really, they've been really good. They've taken the game to Norwich, high pressing. Valerian Ismail came in only a couple of months into the season, and he seems to have transformed them from a relegation threatened team to a team who can really challenge. Norwich have struggled against them. I know we played a weakened team, but they look really good in that FA Cup game. So that's who I'm going to suggest. Are there any other alternatives that people want to throw out there?
What you claim, George, they're actually they are the best at winning the ball in tight areas in midfield and then just look at fast pace straight up the field. I think they've let the least amount of shots on goal in the league and also make the highest amount of tackles per game. Obviously, I'm going on who scored very quickly there, but I've seen it firsthand where we went 1-0 up in the first 2 minutes and we tried to shut up shop under Tony Pulis. Imagine my shock. But they just picked us apart like we were a Sunday team, which pretty much we have been playing like this year. But Barnsley look very good, but I think they'll tail off sooner or later.
Yeah, so as we said,
Warnock as well.
Yes.
Never Warnock.
But we beat.
You can never write off Colin, can you?
No.
Well, you couldn't really write off Middlesbrough. They have got some experienced players in their squad. So, yeah, as always with the Championship, it's unpredictable. That's why a lot of people love it. But there's nearly half the season to go. So we will see how that plays out. Before we get on to Sam's quiz, we just want to have a quick chat about a few transfers which should be going through before next week's deadline, because of course the January window, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, has not been very active, mainly due to COVID reasons, but there are a couple of deals. One I've got written down here: Arsenal are looking to bring in Martin Odegaard.
It has been confirmed, by the way.
It's been confirmed this morning, is it?
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you,
Number
Sam.
11.
I wouldn't have known that.
Great research, George.
So Arsenal have signed Martin Odegaard. It's not a rumour; they have signed him. And you'd have to say they've been doing pretty well recently, offensively, as Harry saw last night. Sorry, Harry. But yeah,
there's no need.
They're still trying to strengthen themselves further. I always think of Odegaard. When he signed in 2015, there was a load of fuss because he was 16, 17.
FM ledge.
But he's only played 11 times for Real Madrid. He's had a couple of loan spells, one at Vitesse in the Eredivisie, one at Real Sociedad in Spain. But Harry, he's coming to the Premier League now. Do you think this will be his biggest test yet to see if he can really make it at the top level?
Almost certainly. It's going to be, obviously, bar Real Madrid, because he's going to get consistent football, most probably at Arsenal. It's going to be the first time that he's in a top league, playing for a top club. I know Sociedad have done well this season, but I think their biggest transfer was about 15 million. So looking at Arsenal, who spend 50 to 70 every transfer window, and Odegaard's going to be one of the main players. If Smith Rowe's been an excellent addition. When I mean addition, I mean since he's come in, because he's not always that fit. You've got another muscular problem against Saints, so I don't know how long he's going to be out for there. He's going to be their creative source. I wouldn't quite say he's the same level as Mesut Ozil, but that's the role he's going to have to play when Ozil obviously was supposed to play. So to answer your question, most certainly is his biggest move. And also, it's going to help both him and Real Madrid. If he does well, makes his transfer fee bigger when he does leave, or make him, in line to play for Real Madrid. And if he doesn't play that great, then it's a bit like where's his next move going to go? So it's a chance for him to really prove himself, and I think he will be able to do that.
Does this signing give Mikel Arteta a bit of a conundrum, Sam, in the fact that he's had Emile Smith-Rowe performing really well lately? He's got Bukayo Saka, Lacazette, Aubameyang. How can he fit them all in?
Yeah, how's he going to get in amongst the Hale End boys? It's going to be interesting because they've been obviously the key to Arsenal's resurgence recently, and it's another youthful addition to the team, and he comes in with a lot to prove, having been one of the most highly rated teenagers we've ever seen. And he had a great loan spell. So obviously, Dad started 29 league games, I think. But he's only started 2 this season for Madrid. So it's big for him if he wants to potentially go back to Madrid and be more of a key player or get a big move. And that's obviously, like Harry mentioned, what Madrid are looking to get out of this loan. If he performs well, then that's a couple more million on his transfer fee in the summer, but we'll see. It'll be an interesting one for sure. I haven't seen much of him. So,
and another rumour. Well, this one is a rumour. The Odegaard one now is no longer a rumour. But this one, at the time of recording, hasn't gone through. I hope. Jesse Lingard has been heavily linked with a move to West Ham. That's also a loan move. It's set to be. So they're getting another boost to their options, where you could say a boost depending on what you think of Lingard. But Devon, is it best for him that he moves on from Man United, given how strong their other options are, and given his game time has really been restricted of late there?
I'm disappointed you didn't come to me before the Odegaard, because I had names saying that if he doesn't follow in the footsteps of stars like, I mean, we all know Arsenal's January transfer window have killed Kallstrom, Denis Suarez now. I think Lingard, it's just going to be about, can he rekindle where he was at Man United in 2015? Because he was scoring FA Cup final goals. He was playing that good. I say that good lightly, but it was performing well, that a lot of people were trolling him because of his actions away from football.
Yeah.
Just to try and pick apart. And obviously it's not words, because obviously I don't think he fits into the whole mould at the minute, what Man United are trying to do. But, I mean, I still feel like he's still got, I mean, is he 28 now? He's still got a couple of years in him. And if he does rekindle that, he could start anew. I think it's been a case of always wanting to be, I think for him to progress in his career, he should have moved from Man United a season or two ago. But now he's still got a chance to go and make a name for himself and carry on doing his dances, socially distanced the last few weeks.
28, Devon. I thought he was still a teenager.
So I have nightmares of Jesse Lingard, because when Jesse Lingard went on loan to Birmingham on his debut, he scored 4 goals against us, but obviously that was his biggest moment ever.
I think West Ham are trying to get the Benrahma changed into a permanent move, because they've already got 2 domestic loans, so they can't actually make the move at the moment. So if we do see that Benrahma move changed, then it'll be very likely that Jesse Lingard comes through the door. And we have, like Devon mentioned, we have seen that he can be a great player. He had that spell under Mourinho where he looked unplayable. He's scored that great goal against Watford and against Arsenal, 2 against Arsenal and things like that. So he's had spells, but he really needs to buck up his ideas, really, if he wants a future at Manchester United anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say, where does he fit in at West Ham? I'm looking at the Palace lineup. They've got Bowen, Benrahma, and Fornals behind Antonio. Then you look at their bench, Yarmolenko, Lanzini's also there. So where does he? He's not a guaranteed starter when he comes in, especially because we talked about West Ham earlier. They're doing very well, so it's not like you can just strut in and go, "Well, you're doing bad, you're doing bad, you're doing bad. I'll show you how it's done," because they're all doing very, very well. So it's out of everywhere. It does feel a bit surprising that they're going to go for another attacking midfielder rather than a striker. But if you can get him through the door, it might be quite expensive. But he's an experienced player that has shown his quality in the past, especially the EFL Cup final of 2017, which made me very upset. But I've forgotten about that, so we can move on.
You didn't have to mention that, Harry. I don't think any of us would have brought that up, but you've said it now. Okay, so there you have it, a little mini transfer roundup there. And we've come to the end of the show. But before we finish, it's another round of Sam's quiz. So, Sam, if you're ready, over to you.
Yes, all about the championship this week, which we've touched on in the podcast. Devin smiling.
Yes.
Maybe an area of expertise for him. We'll see.
No, definitely not. But I'm hoping to show the same form that I did it when George did the playoff round.
I'll make sure to tally up as we go this time.
I'm just waiting for the round on. I'm just waiting for the round on Yo-Yo Club, Sam, and then I'll.
Grimsby are technically. I think Grimsby have had the second most promotions and relegations in the Football League.
Oh, wow. There we go.
We're one of the top yo-yo clubs.
There's a Grimsby question there. And then you got Grimsby, Norwich.
It can only extend at the end of the season. Sorry, Sam.
Good time for a bit of Grimsby trivia. So,
yeah. Okay, then, when you're ready.
Yeah. Question number 1. What was the points tally amassed by Reading in the 05-06 season, which is still a record points tally to this day?
Are we getting it exact, or is it?
I have actually got some options if you want them.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so A, 98, B, 102, C, 109, or D, 106?
Okay.
Was it 103, you said?
B is 102 and C 109.
Before you said that, it was between two answers, and it's still now between two answers. So I'm very upset about that.
I actually didn't have.
Alright, I'm throwing him off there.
I didn't have any of those specific numbers in mind, so I'm glad you gave.
I mean, I'm bottom of the table of the quiz, so I'm quite clearly, lying about my thoughts. So it's not going to be either of those two. It's just,
Wait, am I not
it's just what I thought.
What?
Sorry, Devin.
What you look like?
I don't know. We'll get to the standings at the end. Sam,
Harry is bottom, yeah, but only by 1 point.
Now I'm taking it seriously. Let's go.
Okay. Number 2. With 30 goals in the 12-13 season, which player holds the record for most goals in a single championship season?
Was it? Wait, what season was it?
2012, 2013.
No, we remember.
I was going to say. Hang on a minute.
30 goals.
I thought I was going to give it away. I was going to say Ricky Lambert.
That's what I was going to say.
I think you won promotion the year before.
Yeah, I'm 9. I'm going to look like a fraud if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure we got promoted the season before that.
30 goals. So, I feel like I should know this, but
I'm trying to think who got relegated the season that we went.
I'm going to
12, 13.
I don't think that's right, so I'm going to take a punt because I can't think who else it could be. I've got an answer.
Or have we?
Number 3. Which of these clubs became the first team to be relegated from, promoted to, and promoted from the Championship? So I've got A, Cardiff City, B, Norwich City, C, Leeds, and D, Wolves.
Sorry, can you say that
again?
Sorry.
Relegated to the Championship from the Premier League,
Yeah.
Relegated from the Championship to League One, promoted to the Championship from League One, and then promoted from the Championship. Not in any order, just who was the first to do all of those since obviously 2004 when the.
And just give us the options again.
A, Cardiff, B, Norwich, C, Leeds, D, Wolves.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh, what's that? Still struggling on question number 2 because I can't think of. We were gone, but we weren't in the Championship anymore, so I didn't care. So my knowledge just completely went. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we're going with that.
Okay, 4. Which 2 managers have been promoted to the Premier League the most, with 4 each? 4 promotions each.
Oh, I should know this.
Oh no.
I think it's him anyway. Yeah, we'll stick with that.
Wait, is it 2 answers?
There's 2.
Yeah, there's 2 answers. How many points? Is it 1?
I'm
I'm just gonna.
Are you going to see how
generous I'm going to be generous and say point for each.
Okay.
I'm just moving this way because someone's coming up a ladder right in front of the window. I'm hiding now.
There's 4 points to this last one. So.
Oh. Yes.
4 clubs have won the championship twice. How many can you name? So that's since 2004 as well, since it's been known as the championship.
Oh God, 4 of them.
Yeah.
You don't mean 1 promotion? You mean they've won the league?
They've won the championship. Sorry.
Blimey.
4 clubs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
I think I've got 1. That's tough. That is really tough. Good God. I need some more time on this, to be honest. I wish I
As much time as you want. Well, not as much time as you want.
Can we go into next week's podcast?
No, it's not them, is it, George? Or is it? Oh,
Trying to think.
I'm really struggling on this. I can't believe 4 have done it.
Yeah, it's There's 4. I've literally just.
I don't disbelieve it, Sam. I just cannot think of it.
Tell me you can hear that. It feels like my house is falling down.
And
I've only got 2 written down because I can't think of any others.
Have a fault. Have a guess.
Did they go? Did
No,
they
it's
win it
not.
twice or not? I'm gonna go and sit in boiler room in a minute.
Oh,
I've got 3 now, and we'll go with.
Can I put pressure on? I've got 4.
I've got 4. I know. No, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say I know one of them's correct. I'm 95% sure that one of them is correct.
Yeah, I've only got 3, but let's do it because I can't. I'll just write a 4th down. But
Question 1: what was the points tally amassed by Reading in the 05-06 season, which is still a record to this day? Devon.
Fine.
I'll run in an hour in between. It was between 4 answers. I've gone for 106.
He's got 106. George, what you got?
yeah, I've got the same. I've gone with 106. I think 102 was Newcastle.
What you got, Harry?
Yeah, it was between 106 and 109, and I put 106. So please don't be
You're all boring.
Full house. You're
Get
right.
in. Let's go.
Good start.
Lovely.
I'm glad I asked for the answers again then, because otherwise I'd have done last week and not listened.
Just not giving an answer that's.
This next one's going to bug me when I find out.
Okay, with 30 goals in the 12-13 season, which player holds the record for the most goals in a single championship season? George.
You can see here that I've got Billy Sharp crossed out there because I changed it for Jordan Rhodes, a big favourite of mine.
Okay. Harry, what you got?
Yeah, I crossed out Ricky Lambert because I know that we weren't promoted that season, so I went Britta Sombalonga.
Okay.
Very random.
Devon.
But
I don't think Britta Sombalonga would have stayed fit enough to play 30
yeah,
games.
no, I was 95% sure it was Ricky.
So in my head, it was between Danny Ings, Jordan Rhodes, and the person that I've gone with, Charlie Austin.
Ooh.
But I don't know if he was with QPR in that season in Premier League or not, or he would Burnley.
But it was actually Glenn Murray.
Glenn Murray.
Glenn Murray got 30.
He was not in my thinking.
No, not much. Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near.
There.
To be fair, we should remember that season because they were about 37, weren't they?
Okay.
He's always been 36.
He's always been
never
one of them.
He's never moved. He's always been 36.
Frustrating. I thought
Was that with? No, can't have been with Bryce. No,
Okay.
I've gone.
I'm not going to repeat question 3 because it's a mouthful. So, George, what you got for 3?
I've gone with my team, the current league leaders, Norwich City.
Gone Norwich. Harry.
I had Wolves originally, and I crossed out them and put Norwich because I remember Norwich were with us in league. They were with us in League One, and I'm pretty sure that was cool.
I've gone.
Wolves.
I think it's a trick question because obviously Norwich went down and up before this team that I picked, but I think they went down to I can't remember when they were last in the Premier League. So in order to have the relegation after 2004, I've gone for Wolves.
It was Norwich.
Here we go.
Come on, lovely stuff.
Go. Sorry, Norwich. Sorry, Joe.
Any proof that Norwich are a yo-yo club now?
Say again, Sam.
Do you need any proof that Norwich are a yo-yo?
There we go. Yeah, exactly that.
All right. Question 4.
He's going to watch this, but he's going to make him have an aneurysm in it.
Which 2 managers have been promoted to the Premier League the most? With 4 promotions each. Harry first.
See, I know I'm certainly missing one. I think I put Neil Warnock for one, and I know it's not Steve Bruce, but I put Steve Bruce.
Neil Warnock and Steve Bruce.
I've gone with Warnock and Bruce as well. I didn't really have
fair enough.
hesitation about it.
Devin doesn't look like he's gone the same. Oh, yes. Okay.
Well, actually, no. They've gone Warnock and Bruce. I've gone for
Bruce and Warnock.
Blimey,
You're all right. So, yeah, you are.
Oh, guess in.
You still get it doesn't matter how many points now, does it?
Really, does it?
It comes to this last question then, I suppose.
Yep.
Okay. 4 clubs have won the championship twice. How many can you name, Devin?
Right, this is just a stab in the dark. So I've gone for Wolves, Norwich, even though I don't think they did, Newcastle and Reading.
Newcastle. Oh, yeah.
Reading.
Yeah, fair enough.
Wolves, Norwich, Newcastle and Reading.
Yeah, I forgot about Newcastle. Completely forgot. Yeah, fair enough.
George looks annoyed.
He's definitely right. He's definitely right with Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle. I didn't even think about them.
You're kidding. I'm pretty sure it isn't Norwich. Hopefully, number 2 will be this year. I've got Reading, Burnley, Wolves, and Sunderland.
Oh,
Reading,
yeah.
Wolves and Sunderland.
I'm confident it isn't Sunderland. That was just the 4th one I put.
I did think it was Sunderland, but for
the sake of having 4. But there you go.
Okay, Harry.
They went up, but I can't remember the second one. They'd have won it.
Yeah, so I had Norwich, Wolves, Leicester, and Reading.
Norwich.
Leicester's a shout. I think.
I don't think Leicester were in League One for a long time.
So you didn't think it was Sunderland, George, but they were there. It was Newcastle, Wolves, Reading, and Sunderland.
I got 3 of them. Yeah.
3.
Come on.
Devin got 3.
Yes, come on.
Harry 2.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
I wish I'd have just gone with my instinct of Sunderland.
When were do you know when Sunderland's were? One of them was.
They were early. They were like the first season, and then.
So they did a yo-yo, didn't they? Because they won it in 06, 07, if I remember. They must have
first championship season they won 04, 05.
Right, there we go then. Yeah. Well, I'm surprised at that. I have to say, I'm annoyed I didn't get Newcastle.
It's a confirm now.
Oh well. Well, that was a good round, Sam.
I seem to have thought that they went up the first season, but just didn't come back down until recent years.
That got me thinking. I have to say that was a good round. Have you got some totals there for us?
I'll just total up now.
Yeah.
I can move back to my position now. Seeing this.
Oh my goodness.
I enjoyed that though. That was good.
Yeah, it certainly was.
So George is on 15, Devon's on 12, Harry 11.
Ooh.
It's tight.
There we have it.
Still very tight.
It must just be something about hosts and quizzes, because obviously George led.
Yeah. It's the bookie's favourite.
Yeah, it's very tight. I should say we haven't put a limit on how many episodes we're going to do. We're going to try and do as many as we can for this second series. So who knows how far the quiz can go. But that is the end of this week's episode. We hope you've enjoyed it as always. Thank you for all your kind comments for those of you that do watch and listen in and get to the end and whatever it is. But thank you. Please come again next week. We will be back. Follow us on Twitter. Devon's got it on his notepad. Have you still got that ready to go? At _Fourmation. We're on Facebook as well. Comment down below. Anything. Subscribe, like. Just help us out wherever you can. Hopefully this one will be on Spotify as well. So if you're on Spotify, then thank you for your patience. This one is there as well. And yeah, we will see you next week for episode number 21. See you later.